Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review. I'm here today to talk to you about the CW's Nancy Drew show. Originally, I was gonna do like a review of season 3, episode 2, but I said, you know what? I just don't have it in me. I just don't. After all the craziness that Titans have put me through and the disappointment of like Stargirl, and now whatever in the world is going on in season 3 of like Nancy Drew, I've just given up hope on TV. I really have. I probably should just go back and start watching my DVDs and other stuff on streaming from the past that I love, because apparently everything that new is just weird now, or doesn't make sense, or just sucks. And so I just want to air a little grievances of like what like I'll say this about the second episode of season 3. I like that they finally gave Ace something to do. It's about stinking time. He actually came in handy when using, he's supposed to be the smart one with electronics and stuff, and but now I guess he does chemistry too, and so he looked something up online and has to do with the hearts and figure out this and that. I like the detective work that they did, trying to find out who this heart stealer killer person is. I like how this person is setting up traps, and Nancy almost got like shish kebabbed her and the detective dude. You can so tell her and the new cop guy, you can tell they're gonna date. They're flirting. She's giving him the look. I guess she's over Ace already. um, and it was nice that they gave Ace even more to do when it came to his girlfriend's father. So something strange is gonna go on with that. Um, Her father hasn't learned his lesson yet after getting out of jail. They still haven't shown Amanda yet. So far, she's not even listed on season 3. She might make an appearance. I don't know. But I just found out something interesting about season 3. Its episode order is only 13 episodes. And normally Nancy Drew has about 18. And so, of course, with the pandemic going around, they can't do as much as they used to. But they did a lot last season during the pandemic. And the pandemic was a whole lot worse last year than it seems kind of slowing down, but I don't know. But it's still out there. Don't think it's over. It's not over. Anyway. So they cut it down to 13 episodes in season 3. That's never a good sign. Even Riverdale constantly gets its 22 episode order, and Riverdale is literally like stupid. So that tells you something right there. And I've already told you, like, as you know, Nancy Drew got moved from Wednesdays, where it's been like, on Wednesdays for the last 2 like years and stuff, or maybe a little bit longer than that, 3 years. And now, all of a sudden, it's on the Friday night death slot. That is never good, which means this show must keep its ratings up. And if it does not, boom, it is gone. And I think that's what's going to happen. This could very well be Nancy Drew's very last season, because ratings still are not up. They're still dropping every week since the first season. And, it's kind of like, I think people are tuning out. In fact, I'm getting extremely close to tuning out. I just can't take it anymore with this new element that got added into the series. What is that element? And the reason why I'm not going to review this episode is because of witches or witchcraft or magic. Don't get me wrong. I love good witchcraft type shows. They're awesome. But this show is desperately trying to be the new Charmed. I have no idea why. The CW already has Charmed, so why do you want another witch show? I mean, you got Charmed. You got the vampire spin-off show that I don't watch. Why do you need another supernaturally witchy type thing? I do not get that. This show has deviated so much from what it started off as that it's not even funny no more. This show, okay, when the trailers first come out, They tricked everybody. And then you assume this was going to be another random Nancy Drew type detective show. I was digging it. Then the episode comes out, here and there. Oh, look, there's a ghoulie witch thing. Not ghoulie witch, my bad. A ghoulie ghost thing. And it's like, that's interesting, kind of spooky. I'm still digging it. And for the rest of that season, you had a lot of detective work. You had internal monologues, narration. Nancy was doing real detective type stuff, and every now and then you would see that ghostly, ghouly thing pop up in some other freaky supernatural stuff. It was tamed. It was tamed. You know what I'm saying? It was nice. You can still rock and roll to it. Then in comes season two. Season two decided to be Scooby Doo, but with real monsters. Every week there was a brand new monster, ghost, ghoul type thing, mainly monster looking, that appeared every stinking episode. What's so bad about that is that the people of this town, even our main characters, like before season one, they've never seen none of this stuff. They went through town just being like a regular like town. Now all of a sudden there's a monster of the week everywhere, and people seem to be, oh, this is natural. And other characters that get brought into the shows are like, oh yes, I've known about this forever and ever. Really? Because this show and everybody in there act like they never saw a ghost before. They never saw a monster before. So now everybody is just like, oh, this has been going on for years. And they become accustomed to it. That made absolutely no sense. And so, but still, even though that didn't make no sense, I'm like, hey, whatever, I can still roll with this, you know what I'm saying? Then the whole Odette thing goes happen with Bess and George. And I was just like, this is dumb. I have ranted about this video after video after video. It was the stupidest thing ever. They took two of the coolest characters. This is how cool they are. They tend to be more interesting than the main character herself. Now I like Kennedy and everything. I'm glad she has this role. But they end up making Bess a bit more interesting. She's more perky, she's more peppy. She has this dark criminal history and stuff. Then you have George. She was when she was a teenager, she had an affair with a married man who was like a grown man, and she has this chip on her shoulder, and then she starts to lighten up after a while. Whereas Nancy just went around blaming everybody, thinking everybody was a killer, and even blamed her friends and family. And so they end up being more interesting characters. And as you all know, Bess was my favorite character. Leah was my favorite actress on this show. And they put those two in this weird love thing. And they didn't go the old school TV route of having a love triangle. No. Nick was just okay with all this stuff. George, when Odette was finally Odette's still inside of her, but she's kind of dormant now, because they couldn't write themselves out of that because they just didn't know how. And so they probably want to bring her back at some point. And so they decided, okay, George is going to let Bess kiss her while she's Odette so that Bess can finally say goodbye. But George is in a relationship with somebody. And not only that, but Bess and George are really close friends. And Bess is close with Nick, who is George's boyfriend. So that was just weird that everybody was just so accepting of that. And there was no confusion, no hatred, no love triangle, no nothing. It would have made it more juicier. Speaking of love triangles, Nancy and Nick, they started hooking up. Then they started dating in the first season. Then she started thinking he was a killer, so he couldn't take it no more. So he dumps her for George. And then George was her original best friend back in high school. But then they had a falling out. So then they get reunited as more as adults. And it's just there was no love triangle. Nancy was just totally okay with them two dating and stuff. Now she's okay with them getting married. If this was a real TV show on a real network, there would be some kind of confusion and some type of love triangle. But this is the freaking CW of all things. And, and it's just strange, man. It's how do you be okay with your ex being with your former best friend? She's like totally okay with that. And then she goes around bopping around, dating all these other people, and now she's back in love with Ace, but only to like crush on the new cop dude. It's just like it's like these characters just don't care and they just go with the flow. And I don't want them going with the flow. I want them to have some real story behind it. Everything that you would assume about like what would happen in the episodes turned out to be false. And it's like, well, I wasted a whole 40 minutes of you telling me like this person is the killer and like this person set something up and this and that, and oh, it's something completely different. I don't waste my time like Pretty Little Liars, you know. Also, there was this strange club that appeared last season, these members, and all of that has now just been like, okay, let's just focus on witches now. And then the whole thing with her grandfather, they just kind of pushed that to the side. But let me get back to witches. So yeah, even though it was Monster of the Week in season 2, I could still roll with it. The Odette thing was like annoying, but I'm like, okay, whatever. But then at the very end of season 2, they introduced witches and magic. And I'm just like, who smoked all this weed and came up with this? Like, when did witches come into the show? They've never been seen before. Never. And I'm just like, so then also they had that Tom Swift backdoor pilot with all this electronic technical like sci-fi like mechanical stuff, which has never been brought up in Nancy Drew. So now I'm just thinking, okay, y'all went from detectives to ghosts to monster type stuff to witches to sci-fi stuff. You're gonna go to aliens next? If this show gets picked up for a 4th season, it might go the alien route. And I'm just seriously just like, what direction is this show going into? This show has become an enigma, and that's a bad thing. When it becomes a riddle, when it becomes a mystery, when it becomes a question, that is a bad thing. That is a very bad thing. Being on Friday nights is like one of the worst things that can happen to a TV show. But even though people, well, it's probably best now because people are staying in because of that thing. But yeah, people are still going out, so they're not going to want to watch. And also having 13 episodes when you used to have a bigger order, that's not very good. When your ratings go down week after week, that's not very good. And it's just like, now they turned my best character, my favorite character, and making her do witchcraft now. She did a protection spell on Ace. That backfired. And then when she went to Tempest, you know, the witch ancestor of Nancy, who resurrected herself with blood and became youthful and broke some barrier spell, she tells Bess that she has potential and that there have been witches in her family line and stuff. So great. So now Bess is going to become a witch. But you know they're going to do a love thing between her and Tempest. And you know that at some point they're going to have to say goodbye to each other or something, you know. And I'm just like, and then they show magical sparkly witch stuff and this possessed cat. And I'm just like, this is Charmed. This is Supernatural. This is whatever that Vampire Diary mess was. This is not Nancy Drew. You can't combine all these elements, detective work, ghosts, monsters, and witches, all in the same show, and all in the same season, and all in the same episode. You just can't. It's too much. It's a cluster. It needs to calm itself down. It needs to pick one of these things, not the witches, and figure out what it wants to be. Or this show will be canceled at some point in time, which is sad because, you know, the people here can actually act. And somebody is taking the time to actually write some episodes that were good back in the first season. It's you know what's happening? It's pulling a 100. The 100 used to be a great show. The first 2 seasons were the best. The 3rd season went kind of this sci-fi route, but it was still cool and scary. Season 4, was that good or not? I can't remember. I think that was good. Then season 5 got stupid. It went to like an alien planet. And then season 6 was, the writers just didn't care. There was not one single good episode in season 6. It was just crap. It was awful. It was dreadful. It was just one of the worst things I've ever seen because they didn't know how to write it. They didn't know how to write sci-fi. And the reason for that is when this show first started out, they literally said on a DVD, even though this has sci-fi elements, them being living in space on a space station and Earth being evacuated and, nukes flying around and stuff like that and made the air toxic. And then 100 years later, they put the people back on Earth and now they have to deal with the humans that survived the nukes and adapted to it. Even though it had all that, they said they were not going to make this a sci-fi show. It was going to be still based in realism, but the only sci-fi element is them just living in space. Then by the 3rd season, they went the sci-fi route. And it ruined the show forever. Even to the point in the last season, I think they had like laser guns or something like that. And it's just, it made no sense. And now they're still trying to make that spin-off that show what happened 100 years ago when the Earth got nuked and everything. But now they added the stupid teleportation magic portal thing. And it's just like, no, I don't know how you're going to come back from that. Like, you ruined your show and it got canceled. Of course it did, because they went the stupid route. That's exactly what Nancy Drew is doing. It's going that stupid route. And it's to the point where I'm about to treat this show just like Riverdale and just like Once Upon a Time. I'm gonna check out. Oh, and the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. But I came back to Chilling Adventures because I just got curious. And I wish I never got curious. But it's getting stupid. And these writers, like, and showrunners and stuff, they need to stop and go back to what this show was originally about. Because it will get canceled quickly. And this show will be a utter failure if they do not. And I don't want it to be that way because I used to love this show. Oh, and the title card sequence. They need to change that up. Because the whole Lucy Sable thing has now been solved since season 1. And that and the whole dress is no longer a thing no more. So they need to change that up. See, they're lazy. They don't care. They just don't care. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.